here we go live, and I think everything is good tonight as far as technical difficulties. Of course, my computer froze about a minute and a half before this show went down, but I managed to get back in. I kind of been through the ringer here a couple times, so I think we are good. So, good evening, all. Going to go over what we talked about last week with Fangio. Going to touch on a Hill thing real quick. And I don't know. I got a question. Is anybody watching here? Is my video wacky tobacco? Because I'm seeing some wacky tobacco over here. And I don't know if that's me or I'm just seeing a slow lag on my other side. So just let me know if everything is looking good, guys, if you can. Let's say stream. Nothing is here. I'm going to write this whole thing here. Hello. Oh. What is. Hello. Hello. Anyway, guys. Okay, good. I don't know what the problem is. I'm telling you, it's so weird. I got a high-end PC, and for some reason, I'm getting this lag. Apologize, guys. It always seems to be something on my end. I'll work it out, though, I promise. Anyway, the Hill thing I was high as a kite today as far as like just hopium going over this Fangio stuff. And the Hill thing kind of knocked a lot of steam out of me. Now, I'm not saying, what's going on now is a big deal, but I really didn't know about this guy's past. And after hearing about it, now that it's been dredged up, it's really, really bothered me. And it kind of took some of the happy steam out of my sails. But I was going to mention it, a little bit longer. And I was going to actually mention it at the end, but I want to keep my happy sails. So I'm just going to show this quick right here. Webcam could not be detected. That's what it says. I don't know. Miami police have completed their investigation into Miami Dolphins Tyreek Hill, and no charges have been filed. If you want to check, TD Finstalk did a really good job on it. He actually had some early info. So I would go listen to his thing. He says it's probably going to be like a civil suit type thing. Anyway, Hill boarded a boat without permission, leading to the alleged incident. Boat employees told cops Hill said, "I can buy you and the boat." And he later on it was said, he says, "I'm number 10 from the Miami Dolphins." Now, in of itself, it kind of sucks. It kind of shows this guy's a little bit of a douchebag. You don't just do that kind of stuff. But when you really wrap it up with what he did to his pregnant fiance in college and what he did to his son and talked to his wife in 2019, it's really a bummer. This guy's a major piece of the team, and you want to love the players on the team. I came from the old days, and I'm sure there was stuff going on in the background I didn't know. It was in more of an age of an innocence. So I'm going to leave it there, just get that little bit of information because I covered it this morning. I'm going to kind of move on to the happy Fangio stuff. Okay, so if my video's whacked, I'm just going to go with the images here, and I think I can do that pretty good. So, all right, so I want you to remember I'm digging deeper into Fangio and his system and what we can expect. By the way, I got to do this. Thanks, BJ. Help. I need help. I get by with a little help from my friends on this thing over here. So I appreciate all your help orienting me towards this new live thing. So anyway, Fangio, I think, is going to be phenomenal for us. And I'm dialing in onto his offense and onto his defense and what his defense and what him as a coach has been surrounded by. So this is what we looked at last week, and we looked at it's a cover 6. No, he's not Antonio Brown, but Scott, you're making me talk about it, man. Listen, just picture a pregnant woman with your child, and you got your hands around her throat and you're punching her. Just imagine that's your daughter. Just imagine that's your friend. Then just imagine that the guy later on breaks his kid's arm and says, "You better be afraid of me too, you beep." And it's on audio. These two events make this guy a dog. Antonio Brown, I don't know all the drama. I don't pay attention to drama. I'm not a soap opera guy. I just know he's been a jerk to teammates, but that is as low as it goes, in my opinion. Yeah. It is what it is. I want to love my Dolphins. When I grew up, whether it was, true or not, you didn't hear this kind of stuff. It just, either it was going on, it was buried or whatever. It's just the age of innocence of really loving all your players is kind of bummed. Anyway, Scott, guys, I'm going to get back into the Fangio. Now he's got the cover 6, and he runs the cover 4 to the strong side where the most receivers are at, cover 2 to the yellow side, pass first defense, low blitz percentage. Now, if you look at him in 2018, that was the year that got him to be a coach. So that's his peak year as a defensive coach with a defensive team. He blitzed 20% of the time. And now that's 1 out of 5 snaps. Then when he went to the Broncos, for the first 2 years, it got bumped up to 25%. And in his final year, it was 27%. So what that tells me is his call tendencies is he doesn't want to blitz more than 20%. Now, I'm sure I got to go over I'm going over 2018 and 2019. I watched Green Bay, the first Green Bay game of 2018. I watched the Seattle game week 2, and then the Pats game week 7 or something like that, and ended up being a Super Bowl champ. And it was really interesting because I got to see the mobile quarterback who could throw. I got to see the mobile quarterback and the offense that ran. And then I got to see the immobile quarterback, the guy who can throw the football in the short game and still run it and mix up looks. And I got to see some good stuff. I'm not gonna go too much into it, but I'm gonna bring some parts out that I found very interesting. And I think there's yeah, I know. Thanks for being nice to me, brother. Thanks for being nice to me. So when you look at Fangio with the Bears and you look at him with the Broncos and you see his D, it's easy to take statistics, take analytics, and even take the film and start analyzing the situation. But anybody who's played football or studied football, you understand we're told over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, it's the world's greatest team sport. And it is true, but it's not within just position groups. It's not even with just one side of the ball. What one side of the ball does plays out on the other side of the ball, not necessarily from drive to drive, but certainly from game to game and over the course of a year. And so I'm going to tie in the offense to his defense, which is going to be really good for us because he's not only has the best roster that he's ever had as far as defensive players. His offense is by far and away, whatever kind of knocks you want to put on this offense, it is the best offense he's ever had. And I'm going to start showing you some stuff today because it's going to take a while to flesh this out. I'm really going to have to do a lot of film study. So remember, low blitz offense, totally different than what we had. Pass defense first. Now, hey, Reese's Pieces, brother. Evening, bro. Do you expect higher coverage sacks? Oh, man, you just read my note, dude. Look, number 3, coverage sacks. Dude, what are you spying on me, man? What are you spying on me? Young guys probably got some kind of weird stuff invading my my cameras over here. That's funny, dude. I can't believe you picked that. That's great, dude. Yeah, coverage sacks is a key. Now, it's going to be good in so many ways, but a lot of the stuff that people are saying about Sealer and about Wilkins is wrong. I really feel like these guys are going to have their best seasons in pass rush. And this coverage sack, it plays big for the slightly slow interior D lineman. And I think this is going to work well for us this season, but contractually, it's going to work very well for Sealer and Wilkins, and then maybe not so excellent for us. Let's see. Scott Fangio got the most of his talent that he had a defense in Denver, and he calls a great game. Yeah, I'm going to show you. I got the main like the PFF color codings of the offense and defense of the 2018 Bears, and the color codings, of the Bengals 2019 offense and defense. And then I'm going to show you the tendencies during those 2 years. And then I'm going to show you in comparison to the roster the Dolphins have this year. And you're going to be, I had somebody say, you're talking up this defense, man. You better watch out. I said, you know what? That's the one thing I have zero concern over. And when I go through this and you see this stuff, it really is going to give you massive hope. Let me see. PJ, I think people are sleeping on Brandon Jones coming back. He's an underrated and unexpected part of the pass rush. That's a real interesting question. And I have to go watch Fangio, how he calls his blitzes. It depends on how Jones was used. Jones was used in a very, very specific way with his blitzes. A lot of it was time coming from the back to the front and getting to the edge and almost being outside the peripheral vision of the quarterback and timing that blitz. And so it's Fangio is noted as showing you the same thing over and over again, but for the most part. But then post snap, he's like a chameleon. And that's really where he gets all his stuff. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how Brandon Jones is used. The thing with Brandon Jones is his coverage. He's going to have to cover. He's going to have, and I saw some movement in his coverage in small zones last year, but he's going to have to take a sizable step in that because he was really just a run stopper and blitzer, but his blitzes came in a very specific way that Flores used and just matched perfectly with what he can do. Now, will it fit within the scheme? Will it fit within the system? I have to do my research, but you might be right. So coverage sacks, I think it was 2020 or something. We had great coverage, but after that, it's been kind of very, very skeptical. And so the pressure we had to get had to be fast. And that's what I was seeing with Fangio in the games that I was watching, is that a lot of the sacks were happening in that 5 and 6 second mark. It was the quarterback dropping, going through his reads. And by the time he's getting to his third read, that interior pressure was getting through. And Akeem Hicks was a big beneficiary over that. And I want to compare Akeem to Wilkins. And I think Wilkins is going to have a blowout season, guys, because when you look at Akeem Hicks, when he was there, that was towards the, a little bit later in his career. I think it was like maybe year 6 or something like that, year 5 or 6. I should remember. But if you look at him, he was a little bit doughy, where Wilkins isn't. He's a little bit more athletic, and his ability to chase with speed and changing his direction is much better than Akeem Hicks. And this could play out a lot for him picking up sacks, picking up pressures, and then raising the bill of what it's going to cost to keep this kid if we don't sign him before the season starts. Okay, so let's take I found some weaknesses, because there's always going to be weaknesses in defense. I'll get to that next. So let's take a look. I'm sorry. I'm looking. wait. I'm reading your quote over here without small hint. I know you got that Italian head movement while talking. I went to Catholic school in the 60s and 70s, so I had a talker but your screen can't handle the movement. Oh, it can. Is that what the problem is? I don't know what the thanks. Yeah, I know my hands. I'm actually German Irish, but I knew a lot of Italians, and basically my mouth moves to help my hands talk. So I'll keep the hands in play. Thanks, brother. All right, so you can see here the Chicago offense. It's terrible. I mean, you see Kowalski, don't even pay attention. He's a linebacker. Basically, you had an offensive line, Jordan Howard, who was a decent running back, and you had Trubisky and Javon Werns and Allen Robinson II, who was pretty good, but that is a skeleton to what we have with the Dolphins. And this wasn't a good offense. They were good at running the football, and I'll get into that to a minute. Yeah, New York. I know it's a New York accent. My family was from the boroughs. They were the poor Irish people from the boroughs, and so they had my grandma would call it the Chinese food, and she would talk about Earl. Good evening, Curtis. Go Fins. Thanks, Sharif. Good seeing you, brother. So the turlet, all that stuff. So it kind of permeated into my talk here. If I'm not in camera, I meet you in person. It's not usually this strong. I get nervous on a camera thing. And so I go back into my guttural mode. But usually when I'm not so nervous live, it's not as strong, I don't think. Although I've heard some people say it might be. Anyway, so the Chicago defense here, but you see, look at this stacked defense. Eddie Jackson, Akeem Hicks, Khalil Mack, Eddie Goldman, McManus, Amos, Fuller, Callahan, Amakumara. He was still pretty good back then. I mean, that's a full secondary he had. He had an excellent front. He had Bush, Nichols, Trevathan. He was a pretty good linebacker, but a little slow. And that was one of the problems I noticed with his defense. He had Leonard Floyd, who was still there, getting his pass rush off, although it wasn't as high point. And he got the early Roquan Smith. So that was a stacked defense. But when you compare it to that offense and what it was able to generate, and I'll show you a graphic of that in a minute. So that was his peak year, I think, as a DC and what he was able to put on the field defensively. But now if you look at his Denver years, look at his offense. It is terrible. He didn't really even have an offensive line. He had a couple of receivers, Cortland Sullivan, Emmanuel Sanders. Those are pretty good. Connor McGovern, but, he was okay. The offensive line wasn't much of anything. That Joe Flacco. Just imagine, whatever you think, you have Flacco compared to Tua, and you add in Hill and Waddle, and you add in the running game to have, hey, Garrett, what's going on, bro? Oh, nice to see you, man. Good to see you, Garrett. Thanks for stopping by, man. I appreciate that. That's a terrible offense. Elway had no right to fire this guy. He didn't give him anything on offense the entire time he was there. It's amazing he was able to do what he was able to do. Now you can look at his defense, though. There's the 2000 Justin Simmons, Johnson, Jackson, Miller, Purcell, Harris, Sizer, Chris Harris Jr., Malik Reed, Josie Jewell. This is Josie Jewell. I wonder what happened. I got to do a study on him. He was pretty solid. Derek Wolfe, his best season. On and on it goes. This was a pretty darn good. Thanks, Garrett. You're a kind man, brother. Kind man. So this was a pretty darn good defense. A little thinner, not as good as his Chicago defense, but pretty darn good when you got Von Miller and you got there's before Chubb, right? No, yeah, they got DeMarcus Walker. He was pretty good inside. And Malik Reed, we got to start talking about too. But, when you got Justin Simmons, you got Johnson, he was pretty good for them. This is a pretty deep, but it still does not compare to what we got. Christian Wilkins, the whole team. I'm going to show you. This is really, without a doubt, an upgrade, both offense and defense. And that is going to pay dividends. And I'm going to show you why statistically. So if you look at his Chicago and Denver team, I whipped this thing up, so it's not beautiful. But 2018 Chicago, the offense was third in time of possession and eighth in rushing attempts. And this is why the run game is critical. Guys, a good defense can become an okay defense when it's tired. When you have time of possession and you're even getting like a minute and a half, like say 31, 32 on offense, you tally it up over 17 games, that's 30 minutes. And that's one less game this defense has to play. And that is a big deal. And you'll see with Denver, time of possession change, and it sapped away some of his defense, especially because it wasn't as good. So rushing attempts are the best way. There is a correlation, not about how many running yards you get, but how many rushing attempts you have correlates into a victory and how well a defense plays. It's a big thing, and I'm not going to get into that right here, but yards per game on offense, only 21st, but he had 10th with points per game. Hey, there he is. The Dolphins realtor. Yeah, you live, man. I don't know. I screwed it up at the beginning. I don't know if it's good now. I'm trying, man. I think, I think I got this like barbarian thing. It's like technology is like black magic, and I don't work well with it. I don't know. I'm trying. Anyway, points per game. The yards weren't really what was critical. And so a lot of the yards we're getting, we got last year, it's good, but we need to control the clock and we need points per game because this is a defensive foundation. This is a team that's built on its defense, and the defense needs to be fresh going into the postseason and going into those critical games. Hey, Michael Rodriguez, what's going on there, brother? Wow, a lot of new guys, and thanks for stopping by, man. Really appreciate it. I'm going to get this thing right, man. I promise. I'm doing my best. I don't know. I got to get some new tech guys in. Maybe I don't know what it is. But anyway, I hope it's working well. Thanks for stopping by. So you look at our offense last year, and we had the run game coordinator who didn't call runs. Now, I really think that McDaniel, he's going to be talking to Fangio. Fangio is going to help him understand the synergy better. And he's going to help him understand that, look, you keep my defense fresh. I'll get the ball back for you. Get those stops. You put the points on and we all go happy. But you got to run the football. You got to have that time of possession because you might come out and not have those kind of games for the first 5, 6, 7 weeks, but then it can slowly start sucking away that defense. Guys get hurt a little bit more. They're coming out, they're huffing and puffing, their hands are on their hips. And then you know what? The legs are a little jelly and then it bends the wrong way. So I think we're going to see McDaniel change a lot of what he does as far as his tendencies and his inclination to run the football. And you can see, I'll go into the Denver and you'll see how this time of possession and these run attempts, even if you're not, and points, obviously, is what's going to be critical. We already got the yards, but we need points and time possessions. Now, yards per game allowed, third down defense, fourth. But now you go to 2019, time of possession goes all the way up to 21st, rushing attempts, 13th, yards per game, 28th, points per game, 28th, yards per game allowed, 12th, and then third down defense, 11th. And so obviously the points per game is the big thing, but there also is that long standing when you play it over the macro, the time of possession. I should do a number, see how much extra. If you remember, was it 2021? Our Dolphins, in the first like 6 or 7 weeks, the time of possession was insanely lopsided. We had played like an extra game within the first 5 or 6 games. It was brutal, and that played a lot on why our defense struggled. ABAB, we should sign Melvin Ingram cheap. Nah, he's already gone, man. He went to, who did he go to? I just saw him. He went to somebody. I forgot who he went to. He's already signed with somebody. He's gone. He's gone. Yeah, he was good for us. He played a big part for us early, and then Phillips took over, and he came and popped late. Reese's Pieces, let me get these comments. X was pretty good last season, but with Fangio's system, do you think he can get back to that 10-plus terms? Listen, it's not about – he would have had all of that last year and the year before, but he's been injured every single year except his big year in, was it 2020? He was nicked going into the season last year, and he was really on one leg most of the season. What he did was very, very impressive. The problem is, he'll be a beast if he's healthy. If he's healthy next to Ramsey, he's going to be a beast. But the health, this guy, he is on spit and bail wire. He really is in a very bad state with his health. I think he had stem cell injections 2019 to 2020, and he had his peak season, but there's something going wrong. He's always injured. Yeah. That's unless he washes out, it's an injury. And then let's see. Short game with a running game is so needed to keep two as safe as you. Oh, without a doubt. Same with your guy, Allen. Guys, pass balance is a big deal now. It's not like it used to be with this fun, pass happy league we used to be in. So let me move forward here. Now, you saw the offense and the defenses that he had. Very good defenses. The Bears defense was way more talented, not way more, but I'd say a good 20% more talented than his Denver team. But the offense was much better. It had a run game, had an offensive line with Chicago. And then when he came to Denver, it was just a lot of nothing. You go look at what we got here. You got X with the orange, and that's really all about his injury. If he's healthy, I expect big things. And I'm not even talking about all the depth behind the Van Ginkels and, the Davis and everybody else. I mean, Cam Smith's not on here. I mean, look at the top part of his defense. He has got so many players. The only place is a little bit concerned would be on offense. I mean, look at the talent he's got on the offense as well as McDaniel, who is a very he's an offensive coordinator that forces you to really be on your game with all that movement. Now, it can bite him in the tail. He's very aggressive, and so that can bite him in the tail. But he's a difficult guy to deal with unless, this offensive line breaks down. Now, those red boxes, you got Jackson and the tight end position and Eichenberg. But, I mean, the comparisons between what he had with Chicago and what he had with Denver is not even of the same planet. Not a quarterback, even offensive line. He never had Armstead, Williams, and Hunt. I mean, you got problems the other place. And he's got Hill and the Chosen. Now he's Robbie Chosen. Man, the guy changes his name so fast, I can't keep up with it. And then you got Waddle, and then all this talent, all this depth. So when you go back and you look at what he did in the past, you've got to add those rabbit ears of playing with a very, very poor offense, and that should change. But my one concern, because I always have concerns, ABAB, we should pick up another inside linebacker. Teams make the cut. Yeah. What I noticed with what he liked to do on defense, he would, the look that I showed you earlier, this is a lot of what he did. Okay. So you would see, you can see the E end, he's playing off the tackle. The T, he's playing like 2I. And then another one, the other T, he's playing like, I guess that would be like one tech, and then you got the other end playing on the 5 tech. This is almost what you always saw. But those linebackers often, because the pass rush wasn't getting there instantaneously, it was in that 5-6 second mark. The delay of the running back coming out, going one-on-one with the linebacker was an issue that I saw again and again for hold on a second. Okay, there we go. So that was one of the problems that I saw, was those running backs going against the linebackers, and those guys weren't able to keep up. Now, Baker, he's faster. Long's not that guy. Tyndall, he's a guy who's fast, and he needs to get his act together and get in there, because that's one of the weaknesses, as well as playing the slow game. And that's something Rodgers was able to do. When I saw Rodgers go against Chicago in week 1 of 2018, he was down like 20-3. But he was able to buy that time, make those big plays over the top, but then inside dink and dunk and make his opportunities effective when he had them. And he was able to run the football a little bit. And so it was kind of similar to the struggles he had against the Patriots as well. The Patriots were able to kind of do some of that stuff too, although it wasn't a mobile quarterback. And so if that pressure is getting there in the 6-second mark, and these leaking running backs are coming out, or you have some nice route combos to get inside these zones and a quarterback to find them, then you kind of can matriculate down the field. And that was some of the issues that I saw with him. But the talent that he's got this year, the pass rushing talent, I don't think he's even been close to what he's got. And that's going to change the factor from that 6.5 to 5.5 second pressure time. And I think it could really be a big difference. You could see something special. Scott, year 2, your coach will grow and not make mistakes in those games. Not with Fangio. I think if he does, he's not the guy. You got Fangio. You've got a whole year to figure it out. There's no way on earth he should be doing that. If you see that, he's just not the guy. I'm not even waiting for year 3. He's got to clean that up. I mean, reduce 90% of it easy. So I think, we got to keep that. Oh, yeah, some good comments here. Reese Pieces. I would imagine Vic's present helps. Tua Vic style of D gave Tua troubles. It should benefit Tua in practice. Yeah, and Tua gets a little bit of guff. And I'd like to cover that too. Like, you can't read. And thing is, guys, when you got no blocking and you got 12 guys in the box and 2 guys going route most of the time, there is problems. But I do agree that when you're going against better competition in practice, it's going, because he didn't see the Flores defense anywhere except in practice. Now he's going to see a defense that a lot of teams use. A lot of teams in this division use. And so I think it is going to definitely be a big bonus for Tua. And I think you're going to see dividends from this kid. I think the kid he's not a superstar, but he's way better than what a lot of people have been saying. I think he's going to prove it this year if we can get him the protection and get that run game going. A-Chain going to be there for those checkdowns. Yes, that's what I said when we got him. I don't believe we're going to have an effective run game. That's okay. As long as we do like Gailey did in 2020 and we run and show them we're serious and we pop a couple here or there. I think the passing game, the leaks, and some really good delayed releases is where A-Chain and the rest of the backs can really, really make their hay. At least your D-line get shredded by any decent. No, it won't. This D-line is really, really good. Especially, I like the gap and a half techniques that they're going to be using, Scott. I think all this front, including Davis, who's in a contract year, I think he could have his best season. I like how everything is going in his direction. Now, the one guy that I have very, very big hype for and a little bit of concern, not in a sense that he's not going to be good, that he might not reach the greatness that I see for him, is Jalen Phillips. And I'll explain why. I think this guy could be unbelievable. And I think he's got the potential, but there's some parts within the Fangio defense he's going to have to take a step forward with. And hold on a second. Davis going to run the ball this year. We got better run the ball this year. That's all I got to say. We better run the football. Scott Poona Ford helps me. Oh yeah, Poona Ford's gonna be big for you. He's gonna be very big for you. I gotta get into him and eventually. Sorry guys, I see a good comment and I just forgot my train of thought. So Jalen Phillips is so good, and I don't think that people really get how good he is until you go back and you look at what his weaknesses being reported were. And then how he made that transition from year 1 to year 2. Year 1 to year 2 is a critical time point that tells usually a very high indication of what this guy is going to be. And his jump from year 1 to year 2 was exceptional. And when you get and start looking at his pressures, and I'm trying to get that darn film out, it's just so big, and I got OCD. So I'm getting it. But when you see how close he was one step away from greatness. Now, here is his list of weaknesses from NFL.com for his combine when he was a player. Yeah, I got that. I guess I got some good comments. Curtis, don't answer him. Self-control. Anyway, weaknesses that he was projected on. The green is ones that he's overcome very strongly. The orange is still wait and see. And one I didn't even think of and didn't take notice. And I'm ashamed of myself. I got to go back and pay attention to it. So missed time due to ankle and wrist injuries and concussions. 0. This guy has been unbelievable, bouncing back from the most critical knock on him. And there has been nary a instance of him being hurt. And that's a huge testament to him about ways conditioning himself and how he's taking care of himself. And that is, without a doubt, it all goes that way. So that was a huge one. Now, pad level rise is too tall off the snap. I didn't notice that. I got to go back and I'm cut my film. So now I'm going to watch and see what I see. Below average core strength for head-to-head battles against tackles. Now, I don't know if they're talking about in the pass game or they're talking about in the run game. In the pass game, no, he has increased his bull rush ability. In the run game, no, he is still a victim. But year 1, he was a victim with tight ends. Year 2, he either defeated them or stalemated most of them. So I see a rise in this. I don't think he's ever going to be able to take on like Jason Taylor, a tackle in the DE position. And I don't think he needs to. It'd be nice if he can occasion stalemate. But I think this kid's going to grow in that area. Gets bounced off his base during redirects. That happened a ton in both run game and the pass game. But that took a solid step forward. Still needs to grow. These were the 2 areas that we want to see a strong jump, as well as ability to dominate in the run game against tight ends on a more consistent basis, or fullbacks, and then kind of stalemate a little bit these tackles, because in the Fangio system, if he can't, he's going to kind of get bounced out on first downs and in goal line situations. And that happened all through last year. A lot of the red zone stuff and those critical short down stuff, he was on the sidelines, and that's going to diminish his opportunities. But needs better command with his hands as a rusher. That grew so much, guys. He was getting help. I think it was from Wake and maybe Taylor or something like that in the offseason. And you go back and you look at him in 2021 to 2022. I got some good questions. Yeah, I'll get to them in a second, guys. I'm going to finish this. It was tremendous. But the thing that the most incredible rise, and I'm gonna toot my own horn here. If you go and check me in some of my podcasts in like week 2 or week 3, I was noticing this: fails to stack moves ahead of the pass blockers. He was adding 2 and 3 moves and began to implement the spin move around week 3, week 4. And this was stuff he was taking in the offseason and then begins to implement it in the game. And by the tail end of the season, this guy was doing some really, really good stuff. And if he could take that same step from 21 to 22 to 22 to 23, I don't think this guy's ceiling will hit for another 2 seasons. The hand play for a guy like him with the length, the height, and the speed is critical, but he is smart. He is implementing it. And when you go back and look at what this guy was able to do, he took those 2 big negatives and obliterated them, in my opinion. Of course, there's things he's got to grow on, but holy cow, man, the tape, I was astounded, and I was so impressed. And to me, that showed, look at him. He's always on the field. He's not getting knocked out for injuries. He's got the Van Ginkel dog. He runs back and forth. And he grows and learns and is smart. Even his coverage was improving. So I am so hyped on that. And then his inside counter needs to be unlocked. He began to do that midway through the season. So you got 6-7 big knocks against Phillips, and he is pretty much obliterated 4 of them already. And so I am so high on this kid. I think the potential truly is astronomical. But my concern, before I get to my concern, let me answer these questions. Okay, hold on a second. Reese's Phillips legitimately could have had tally 15 sacks. Yes. He now, if you look at Mac and Vaughn, I think they were around 13. And the one thing I'm really doing right now is trying to understand how Fangio wants his pass rushers to get to the quarterback. And there's a difference. Flores had guys attacking, and it was get to the quarterback. And you didn't have to keep contained because you had these blitzes, these hot blitzes, these overload blitzes. But with Fangio, I noticed a lot of times it was a horn of control. It wasn't like, the edge rusher is just like getting past this guy and getting around and losing that control. There had to be an element of control and then a bull rush for the final close. And so there was a little bit of control element, and that's not exactly what we saw from Phillips last year. So he's going to have to implement certain new protocols unless Fangio changes things for him. And we got to see how that plays out. But I clearly think at least 10 to 13, because this kid is a better pass rusher than Mac. In some ways, he doesn't have the bull rush power. Mac is a shorter guy. He's like 6'3", 250, and he'd get under those guys and drive them back where the whole horn was being controlled. So, and Vaughn is kind of the same way too. He's got the full repertoire, but he's got a little bit more power, I think, than Phillips, although Phillips was starting to develop that. So I would say 10 to 13. If you got 15, that would be unbelievable. Is there anybody 100% tired of hearing Dalvin Cook BS at this point? Nah, I've been saying that for a while. I don't think he's coming, and I don't want him to. And not because of the player. I like the kid. I like his talent. I just don't like the price. And I like what we got here. And I don't think we have a offensive line that suits him. I don't think he's coming here. I could be wrong. I'm a little guy, so I'm just making my opinion. Some of these people just say they got contacts and, they're inside. I don't know. It's just my personal take. But, yeah, I don't want to hear about it anymore. Okay. AB, I kind of got to that. Oh, in his prime? It depends. Because, guys, it depends on what the defensive coordinator wants and how he's calling things. Is Phillips being released like a Lawrence Taylor, where everything's designed around him to get sacks? In that case, I think he could have it very high. But is it more of a team-based defense where we want you to have control? We want you to dog when the guy boots out. We want you to get your hands up in the face. We want you to create pressure, but you can't release contain. You know what I mean? So it depends. It's not that simple. But if you put him in a dog style system where you made him the premier pass rusher and you were creating scenarios for him to go and attack, I think he could be very high. I could think it'd be very high. But the problem is, if he's coming out on those first downs, if he's not in red zone defense, you're taking away golden opportunities and you're taking away just regular opportunities, and that can hinder him too. His ability to handle the run and be a first down guy and a short yardage guy is going to determine the height of what he's going to do. Reese's kind of agree, Dylan. A-Chain has a very high ceiling. Take care of our team first with extensions. Yeah. We need to spend all that money on the guys. Scott says he'll take them. Okay, I hope you do. I mean, maybe you might rub that in my face if the guy starts doing some good stuff with us. But I think you got Harris and his brother Cook. I think maybe one other back you get in there would be pretty good. I think guys are pretty good. Let's see. Roy. Hey, what's going on, Roy? Injuries will determine the season. They will happen, and they will most likely happen to the usual suspects for usual amounts of games. I mean, odds are if you get injured every year, you're likely to get injured this year. I guess we got to see. It's critical. So we'll take my man, Tehran. I love Tehran. And Teron might be nicked up for a game or 2 or 3. And it will depend on when he's nicked up. If he's nicked up in the middle, if he there's an easier game, is he when he comes out of the Knicks, is he kind of limited? So we got to wait and see. Injuries. I mean, is Tua going to get injured? To me, Tua's injuries is all based on don't put him in the lotto. It's the same with Allen. Run the football. Shorten the depth of your throws. Don't have to keep 7, 8, 9 guys in the box or whatever you keep. And then with the quarterback, 9 guys in the box to have 2 guys routes, and then he'll be less in that lotto. So to me, I don't think Tua can be knocked out for a game or 2. I don't know if he's got a long career, but it's not about that. It's about winning this season. It's about winning next season. And so I don't know if the guys that are getting injured will get injured in the wrong times. Likely they'll get dinged. Let's hope it's not as bad as it was last year for my man, Teron and Tua. So I don't know. We'll see. I can't eval like that. If I do, then it's guesswork. But the tendencies are the tendencies. And you can go check. There's a site. I'll post it on one of my next. It's a site that actually takes all the injuries and then tallies up a percentage of them being injured. And so, we got a lot of guys that got injury history long, there's a bunch of them. So we'll see. We'll see. It would be brutal. If Teron goes down for the season and Long goes down for the season, obviously Tua, so we got to wait and see. I just try to deal with what is, so I don't know. Eric, you might be right. Or Roy, you might be right. Eric, hey Eric, what's going on, brother? Curtis, do you think Tyreek will get a suspension for the assault investigation? I don't want to talk about it. You know why I don't want to talk about it? It breaks my heart, in a lot of ways. I guess I got to talk about it. I see people, all they care about is this guy plays. They defend him for strangling a woman and punching a pregnant woman in the face, like broken kid's arm and saying, you better be worried too. It's like doesn't matter. People are going to go out, wear their 10 jerseys and he's the best, I mean, like I get it maybe from a player's standpoint, but this guy's a scumbag. And I don't say that like he can't redeem himself. I believe in redemption. I was a bad person. I mean, not like that bad. That's bad. But I did a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of wild stuff, a lot of, bad stuff, I would guess you would say. And I believe in redemption. But him walking on a boat, stopping a guy in the back of the head, says, I could buy you. This is a sociopath. This is a if you have studied psychology, people become sociopaths. They're born psychopaths. And some people say you could become a psychopath. You move up the chart from sociopath to psychopath. I don't know. I'm not an expert. But sociopathic tendencies is this lack of empathy, this lack of concern, this over superiority. And Tyreek Hill, I don't know what got him here. He was a good little kid at one point, probably growing up in a tough environment. I grew up in that, drugs and violence and hate. And I was on the verge of being like that. Not with women, but people. I have bad stuff. But you got to get past that. You got to go past that. And to me, Tyreek Hill is not a good person. He's a bad person until he changes. And you don't go up to somebody and slap him in the back of the head and do that and say that. You look at people as their ants. And this guy really, he breaks my heart that he's a Dolphin. Don Shula, Larry Zonka, Dan. Now, Dan wasn't a perfect guy, but he wasn't doing that stuff. Even Brian Cox, people got on Brian Cox, but I just, Ricky Williams, he smoked weed, but this is dark stuff. And, honestly, from going forward, he said, I'm number 10 for the Miami Dolphins. I'm not even referring to him as Tyreek Hill. He's number 10. I hope he catches the footballs. I hope we win. I think I don't know. I think whoever this is probably going to get bought off and it's going to be I think, as I said, TD Finstock, I watched him mention it, and he had some really good information. He thinks is it's just gonna, and that's it. But we as fans have to just understand that it's more than just a game, that we can't support this, because a guy like this is the same guy that is going to screw you in the end. Character is character. He doesn't care about anybody. If it doesn't go well, he'll treat Tua just like he treats Mahomes. There's something wrong with him, and fans should love him and let him see this is not right. Dude, we don't like you. We don't respect you. He would slap you in the head if you got in his way, if you weren't just glorifying him. He's not a good person. I hope he gets a suspension in some ways that maybe will wake him up. I don't want him to get a suspension because I want to win, but there's more time. This poor guy. And at first I hated him. And then I understood myself, who I used to be and how I came out of that. I want this guy to wake up. And as long as people support this behavior and don't get him to see it's wrong, he won't go back to being that good little kid before he made that change. Some point we all make that change, whether you get screwed or whatever, but you can't hurt women. You can't hurt kids. And in my book, you don't hurt animals either. And so it breaks my heart that this guy's on a team, because he is a low life right now and he needs redemption. And I think a lot of people just be like, who cares? Catch touchdowns. I don't know. So it bothers me. So anyway, I'm sorry about that little thing there, guys. I see myself in him in some ways, and I get angry at him, and I want him to be better, because he doesn't see. He's in a violent sport. He's allowed to do these things. I want to see Tyreek Hill be a great husband, a great father, and a great person, because right now he's a millionaire. He's a stud athlete, but he's a low life. This is not what his life should amount to. So anyway, sorry, I couldn't shut my mouth there. Kurt, hey Lamar, what's going on? Kurt didn't know you. Yeah. As a guy, as a trouble guy. Dolphinator, thank you, brother. Yeah, a question for everyone. I was going to get a Hill on the field authentic jersey. Who would you get? I might change it to Phillips or Waddle. Dude, let me tell you something. Waddle and Hill. Dude, I love my kids doing the Waddle. It is beautiful. It's what sports are about. And Phillips, this guy's doing stuff on the side, and he had the game he loved almost taken from him. This powerful athlete was almost neutered in his prime, and he found the most critical thing in life: humility. Humility. That makes people. I would get myself a dirty, half-burned Waddle or Phillips jersey before I'd ever wear a number 10 signed golden jersey of that guy. There's plenty of good guys on this team. Wilkins, Sealer, Waddle. Well, if it's Wilkins and Sealer, it might be here next year. I don't know. We'll see. But Tua, I would say what you want about Tua. He's a good human being. Waddle, good human being. You could see it on him. You could see goodness. Guys, this is our team. We've got to be more than just about points and talent, because in the end, Shula wouldn't put up with that stuff. Belichick would kick the guys. I mean, yeah, you got the Cowboys and the party guys and stuff like that, and I'm sure there's a lot of bad stuff, but man, a pregnant woman, I don't want to go into it. Anyway, sorry, guys. I went on a little pulpit run over there because, like I said, it was a tender. It's a tender shoot. So when you wrap it all together, when you look at, yeah, passion, anger. That's why I love the game. I miss it, man. I miss fighting. I miss football. I miss the whole thing. I got some issues, guys. But I do believe in redemption. Before I finish that, I do believe Tyreek Hill can become a good person and a great football player. I believe that he can make that turnaround. There's people who have done way worse than this and have woken up, and he needs to. So let's pray, hope, support this guy in the right way, and get him to see narcissism and sociopathic tendencies This is not acceptable for Dolphins fans. Anyway, so when you look at the Fangios, yeah, preaching it. Sorry, guys. I don't, I try to keep even keel here, but anyway. So when you take the Fangio system of limited pass rush, 4-man pressure, uh, um, pass defense style defense with mixed match zone coverage to kind of present a banal, a continuous look at the line of scrimmage. Although occasionally on critical downs, you throw the blitz in there. Okay, and everyone knows that. But for the most part, it's this cover 6 look that then morphs post snap. And if we apply that, honestly, me personally, I like to see the video before I come to the conclusion. Yeah. Well, what video? We did actually the audio of him saying that. I mean, to me, it's him slapping the dude, Lamar, in the back of the head. That's just a sign of a jerk. That's a sign of a guy who's entitled and a jerk. Like, who did he slap? Is the guy 6'5"? Is he 5'8" and skinny? Either way, that's a jerk. But hurting women, hurting kids, the audio is out there on him saying what he said. There's a broken arm, and he admitted to doing what he did to his fiance in college. And that, okay, but repent, move forward from that. This shows me that there's still an element or a portion of him who still doesn't truly understand that is all kind of tied together. And if you've never been that kind of person, Lamar, where anger takes control of you, there's no portion that's allowable. It's like an alcoholic, okay? Violence is a drug. It releases endorphins, much like alcohol. I'm going to get off a tangent here. And so for somebody who's an angry person, like I used to be, you cannot allow or accept any type of anger that leads to physical contact, because it's just always one step away, one drink away, one anger away. And so I understand that people are kind of fixating on what happened on the boat. And to me, if that was just all it was, I'd be like, this guy's a jerk. He's rich, he's young, he's high testosterone. That's stupid. But when you add in taking advantage of the weak, this was a taking advantage of the weak. I mean, think about Tyreek Hill at 5'8", jacked out of his mind, pro football player. I mean, you imagine fighting that guy. Imagine that guy coming on a boat and telling you, I could buy you and smack you in the head. He would do it to you. And because of what we have in the past, this is a 3-point line, which creates a line for indication that this guy has problems. And so, I'm not saying burn a guy. I'm not saying, whatever. But this is clearly who he is. Look at how he's even talking about Mahomes in the offseason. I mean, he's an angry person, and that served him in this game, and I understand it. I understand when you come from a dark background and you got to fight your way to the top, and the only way to do that is with violence and with anger. I understand it, but when you get to a certain point in life, you got to move past, and he hasn't. He's got all the money. He's got all the accolades. He's got a woman. He's got a child. It's got to die, So anyway, sorry, guys. So last point, if you take Allen, he's the mobile quarterback that likes to go deep. That's very similar to Wilson, the tape I watched with Seattle, although the Bills don't run the football, or I think they should, because against the Fangio defense, you need to run the football. And then you got Rodgers, who played him in the Green Bay game I watched. He's with the Jets, and Saleh runs a hybrid style Fangio defense, and Rodgers can move which if you're rushing 4 and you're not contained, he can get out, and that could be a problem. He's got the backs to leak, and he's got the patience to read and to diagnose post snap. And then you got the Pats, who like the short game and to run the football. All that stuff combines into very grounded extrapolation from what we saw in the past to now. Now, he was able to put his offense and team in a position to win against Rodgers. But the offense kind of failed him in the Green Bay game, although his defense kind of did break down. Rodgers had an unbelievable game because he is unbelievable. And in the Seattle game, he dominated. And I think that this defense has a very, very potent effect on the Bills and Allen. You're not going to be able to run helter-skelter. I don't think the way the Bills have in the past and have a success against Fangio, it's going to cause a lot of consternation to Allen if they're not improving that calls and they're not running the football. So I like the Fangio defense a lot against the Bills. And I think maybe that's why they drafted Kincaid, to kind of work some combinations underneath. And they definitely need to run that football. And then the Pats. Now, Mac Jones ain't Brady. Brady was able to dial it up, and he'd seen it all. So I like us against the Patriots unless Mac somehow takes a different big step forward, but I'm not sure about that offensive line, and we got to see what happens with the receiving group. But overall, this is going to be a Fangio that, even though I watch these games and these are portable comparisons, he has a much better offense and he's got a more talented defense. So I really like what's going to happen this year on defense. I don't see how it could be a failure. Now, I'm not saying top 5, but 11-6, I think it's got to be a lock. I don't see how it couldn't be. Now, on the negative side, I do think Wilkins and Seal will have their best seasons, and that could be a problem for 24, but who really cares? I mean, we've got to win this year. We've got to go to at least the division round, if not the conference championship, and then we worry about the rest of it later. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Greer, but he can find linemen. It might be hard. You know, he might only be able to keep Wilkins and not Sealer and maybe David. To me, he's got to keep Connor, Hunt, and Wilkins. Those 3 guys, he's got to find whatever way to get him. Bills, Scott, they did, but he had no offense and he had a substandard defense compared to what he had against Chicago. And that's why I'm saying the extrapolation isn't clear cut. It's a very good point, but when you're this kind of defense, you've got to have some kind of offensive output. And he had garbage with Denver, and that defense wasn't all that good. It was kind of like smoke and mirrors because you had Vaughn. And so, I don't know. I'm going to go back and study it out, though, because I think Allen had some pretty good games against him the 2 times that I looked over, but I can't remember if it was Chicago. He wasn't even around then, I don't think. I think maybe it was his first year, 2018. I got to go back and check. So I'll keep that on notes, Scott. Yeah, Garrett, I got a self-promotion. I hate to do it. I feel like a narcissist. But yeah, smash the like button, guys. I could use that. All right. So I really think this defense is going to go well. I think Phillips is going to be good to very good. If he can work the run game, he's going to be great. If you see this guy on first down runs, you see this guy in red zone defense, this is going to be a special season for this kid. Hold on a second. Let me see. Lamar also needs to be said. Fangio, HC is way different. Yeah. I mean, he had his duties split and stuff like that. So that has to come into account. There's no clear-cut extrapolation because the Bills of then is different Bills than that. I mean, you're just trying to kind of get like loose structures for your evaluation. So I think, both you and Scott have points, but I got to actually go into the film and see how did that come about. And, and then you got to look at the talent. Was a certain talent weaknesses exposed on the defense and, yada, yada, yada. Alan, I would show that, but that is way too narcissistic for me. I try to do my job here. You guys are the best. I still don't believe that people pay attention to me, so I'm very grateful, guys. All right, I got burnt out on the tire number 10 thing. Just we gotta hope this guy gets his life together. He's a human being. He's one of our family, and this is not the right direction. So, guys, be very positive about the season. I don't know if he'll get punishment from the NFL. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but this is a critical season. If he misses a game or two, it could really hurt us. But again, we've got to focus on what matters. Think about Shula. Think about, what you would want, from your son or for your daughter. I mean, you get the right guys. And that's one thing I always loved about Flores, about character. And I think that's got to be something we really focus on as a Finns family, because character is character, and it will come back to support you or bite you in the end. So, guys, you're the best. I appreciate everything. Sorry if I got off on a tangent. That's why I try to keep it even keel. I get emotional and stuff. So, guys, have a great night. I hope you enjoyed. I'll work on getting this thing better. I will catch you next time. Any final questions, any thoughts? Guys, please, last thing. I really want you guys to really feel free to question me, question each other, and we'll find our way to better evaluations tomorrow than we had today together. And that's what this thing is all about, man. I appreciate everything you guys do. And remember, this is the most complicated game in the history of man. No one has all the answers, except me on occasion. Anyway, guys, have a great night. I will see you soon. Hasta la vista.